Hello, everyone. Welcome to Your Marketing Big Sister podcast, a safe space for both listeners and guests where we retell our career stories, reflect, and share advice meant to inspire, encourage, and move others to action. Today, I'm joined by a finance professional with a sweet spot for marketing, Urmi Hossain. Urmi is a woman who wears many hats. She is a self-published author, speaker, blogger, polyglot, mentor, and holder of both the Chartered Financial Analyst and the Chartered Alternative Investment Analyst designations. She works in the financial service industry in Canada, where she lives. Her first book, Discovering Your Identity, A Rebirth from Interracial Struggle, reflects her journey as a third culture child. Passionate about women's empowerment, Urmi is the social media lead for Women in Leadership's Victoria chapter. She's a big proponent of learning and self-development, one of her passions being public speaking. She has been part of the Toasters Club since 2019, where she served as both VP of Education and President. Urmi, welcome to the podcast. In a previous podcast interview, you've mentioned the fact that growing up, you mainly had three career options in mind: doctor, engineer, and lawyer, and finance was never on your radar. How did you manage to explore options beyond like medicine and engineering?
I would say that this career path just came to my life just like that, pretty much, because, like you said, I think like growing up in a certain culture, there is always this expectation that you become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, and so forth. And when I was living in Italy, I always had in mind that I wanted to be a tourist guide for some reason. Then at some point, I was like, oh, maybe I should be like a therapist and so forth, because I was like, I think I'm good at solving people's problem. But when I moved to Canada and I started university, I went to the open house that my university was offering, and I was much more intrigued towards business. And specifically, I was much more interested in learning about international business. And what happened is international business became my major and finance was my minor. And then I started to like take classes of international business, and I was realizing how much I hated it. And I don't like to use this word because I feel like it's a strong word, but I did really hate the whole major about international business because I just felt like there was nothing that I was learning. It was a lot of memorization. And then finance was my minor, and I was like, you know what, I think I will have better work opportunities if I switch to finance. And so I took one finance class, and then that was it. Like I just fell in love with it, and I was like, I'm gonna make this my major. And finance since then became my major. International business was my minor, and I have enjoyed learning finance so much to the point that I was into the honors program. I did extra semester. I wrote a thesis about art and wine investing. And then I graduated, and I was like, I don't want to graduate. I still want to stay in school. I still want to study and so forth. And I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? Learning doesn't need to stop in a classroom. It can go beyond that. And that's how I started to work in finance. And then a lot of companies, they do have this benefits package where you can take courses, complete designation, and they pay for it. And I was like, I'm going to take advantage of it. So that's how I started to do the CFA designation, the CAIA designation, and I continued studying ever since. So for me, finance is a love that never faded away. I mean, I very much enjoy finance, and I'm a proud woman in finance.
Yes, I really like the fact that you've discovered your passion or your calling, your interest in finance through sort of experimentation. How have you developed an interest in marketing?
So I was telling this to someone actually yesterday. So you know what? I wish I had a minor in marketing because I feel like now everything is it revolves around marketing, and I feel like marketing is also very dynamic. Like it's not just, oh, we're selling a product and a service and this is how we advertise it through, typical commercial ads that you see on TV, but there are many ways to advertise a product. There are many ways that you can brand yourself. And what happened is, I think this whole interest about marketing and being a social media lead and building my own personal brand, it just came out of curiosity and me wanting to to try different things. I think with women in leadership, what happened is I always wanted to be part of a big organization and something that was aligned with my values and what I represent. And so there is this opportunity for the Victoria chapter where they were looking for a social media lead. And initially, I was very hesitant and skeptical, more hesitant than skeptical, because it was like, oh, I don't know much about social media. I don't know how to promote stuff. I don't know how to create reels. I don't know any of these things. But I was like, you know what? I'm up for the challenge. And so that's how I joined the organization in 2021 or 2022. I can't remember now exactly. Actually, it was, I think, probably 2022 or 2023. And ever since, it's been a learning process for me because this is completely brand new, but I can see how, certain things works, and I can see how certain things do not work, especially when it comes to promoted things. And
Mhm.
then I also learn by observing. So I watch also like what other people do, and that's how I'm learning. I feel like marketing is also very dynamic and so much fun. And so
Yeah.
that's how I developed that side of marketing.
Mhm. That's And indeed, like marketing is very practical, hands-on. And what I like about you and your career trajectory is the fact that you were open to learn. The CEO of a big company, I can't remember the name, said recently that if graduates aren't willing to learn beyond university, they shouldn't be in that particular field. And I feel, it's obvious that that's what you did with regards to finance, but now you're applying the same willingness to learn to the field of marketing. The other aspect that I think stands out when it comes to your career is the all the volunteering opportunities. Would you recommend this option to young people at the start of their careers? Actually, maybe to people at any stages of their career, and why?
Yes, to answer your question, yes, I highly, highly recommend this to anyone, and I highly recommend it to students, but also to people who have been working and being part of, like, being in the industry for a long time. Because I think when it comes to volunteering, especially if you're a student, I feel like here are the two different things. So basically, if you are a student and you are being a volunteer, you're building leadership skills that I think are pretty much required once you graduate and you're looking for a job. Like maybe you're lacking work experience, but if you can sell yourself as being like, oh, this is what I did in the meantime to work on my skills, and you get to develop other skills to the type of volunteering job that you're doing, you can market yourself pretty well. And I think people, especially employers, are always interested to see your outside interest and see what you have done above and beyond to make yourself marketable. So I highly
Mhm.
recommend it. And for people who have been working in the industry, yes, it's true. You're not getting paid for it. But I feel like a lot of the times when you're giving back to the community, especially if you've been working in the industry and you want to fill a void and you want to feel like you want to do something meaningful, purposeful, you want to give back to the community and you want to serve the community, I think a lot of the times it's not about money, it's more about helping other people. And even that, I feel like for someone who's been in the industry, the type of skills that you get out of it is the recognition and finding meaning in your life. And I think, being a volunteer for communities, like even for me, like I'm part of the social media team, and I'm part of Women in Leadership. For me, it's also part of my, personal branding package. This is how I want people to perceive me when they hear my name. And a lot of the times when you're doing things outside of your day-to-day job, you work on different skills, like marketing, for instance, for my case, right? Like I don't do this in my day-to-day job. It's something that I do get to use in my day-to-day job because I'm learning it outside of my 9 to 5 job. And so you get to learn skills that are complementary to what you're already doing. So there are two different kinds of things here, depending on what stage of your career you are, basically.
Yeah, and you're also expanding your field of influence, or your credibility. because people from various industries get to know you. So the networking aspects of volunteering shouldn't be underestimated. Okay, another inspired move that you've taken consistently throughout your professional journey was seeking mentors. Can you talk to us more about that?
So I did seek mentors and I was a mentor myself as well. And I always say that no matter what you are in this type of mentorship relationship, you will always gain valuable information. But for me, the reason why mentorship was so important is because I feel like when you start working or even when you're studying, I think you always need some type of guidance. And this applies to every single person on this earth. Like it's not that just because you are a CEO of a company, you don't need a mentor. I think every single person needs some sort of guidance. And for me, mentorship was valuable. And I would say that my first mentor, I got it when I was working in my previous company. He was officially my mentor. So there was like a mentorship program where you're matched with people. But I would say that I also had mentors that were also my friends. I indeed call them friendtor, which is a combination of
Mhm.
mentor and friend. And a lot of the time looked for guidance in a lot of my friends who maybe they were not on paper my mentor, but I did see them as my mentor. And they were
Mhm.
always there for guiding me, providing me advice, tips. And I think no matter where you are in your path, you always need a mentor. And some of us find mentors in friends, some others in siblings, some others in family. So just look around and see if there is someone that you look up to.
Yeah, and I think it also takes humbleness to an extent as a mentee, to be willing to learn from others, to be willing to accept the fact that maybe you don't have all the answers. Okay, Urmi, let's just see. I think we've went through all the questions actually, but there was one at the very beginning that I skipped because I didn't know if we had time to cover it. Yeah, living in these different countries. Well, some of my listeners may be familiar with my view of the world, and that is that life is an adventure, and I think you sort of embrace this vision as well. Both you and I have lived in different countries, and so I want to know, what would you say to someone contemplating, I don't know, moving abroad, studying abroad, maybe working in a different country, but feels a bit frightened to do so?
So my advice would be see the fear as your friend
Mm-hmm.
and take and go ahead and start on this journey of moving around, going to different places, starting a new life, because I feel like, every time you're moving around, you are growing from a personal point of view. There are, like, let's say I was just speaking to someone who lived in the States for a couple of years, and she was like, it was a beautiful experience. And then I came back home. Um, but the thing about it is that when you are moving abroad, you are basically seeing a different side of you, but also seeing a different side of the world. And change is always good. You get to meet different people. You start to be also a bit more open-minded, and you also start to be less biased and less judgmental towards things. Like instead of living in your bubble, you start to open your eyes that there is a lot more in this world that you have to still learn, and there's a lot that the world has to offer you. And I'm always up for this idea of like studying abroad just for a couple of years. You don't have to stay there forever, then choosing to go to another place to work. It's just for the sake of getting that experience. And I always say that the more you travel, the more you see you go to different places, the richer you are as a person. Like I feel like you as a person, you become such an interesting, person to talk to, because you just have all these different experiences that you have gained. And it shows also a little bit about your personality. I feel like it shows that you're very adventurous, that you are, risk taker, that you're not afraid, you're fearless, you're bold. And I think it just makes you a lot more interesting to talk to as well.
That's a brilliant encouragement. I would just add that knowing your why is very important. That can be a strong catalyst for making such a difficult move. It can be a difficult move.
Yes.
Um, but if you have a strong and very good reason, then the answer is clear. Um, And I think also by living in different countries, you discover how similar people are, regardless of, nationality, whatever, ethnicity. We all have the same aspirations, dreams, fears. Deep down, we're actually very, very similar. And I think
Yes.
that, like you said, that makes you less biased and more open and friendly towards just people in general. And if and when you move back to your country of origin, you bring with you all that experience, but you also will be more welcoming towards any immigrants that might be part of your country, because you can relate better, you can understand them better. The younger you are, actually, I think the easier it is to an extent. I think if you moved abroad as a student, I did the same. I think the equation is a little bit more complicated when you have an entire family to sort of move abroad with, and children, and things like that. But it can be done at any stages of one's life,
Yeah.
for certain. um okay, all right, thank you so much, Urmi. Can you please let people know where they can find you and learn more about you? And I will include the various links in the show notes, so they can say hello to you easily.
Yes, so I have a YouTube channel called Urmi Hossain. I have a LinkedIn account called Urmi Hossain. I also have my book available on Amazon called Discovering Your Identity, a Rebirth from Interracial Struggle. And if people want to learn more about the work that I do, it's Women in Leadership for the Victoria chapter. So they can just type that on Google, or they can just search on Instagram, just writing Women in Leadership, and you'll see all the different chapters that we have. And I am the volunteer for the Victoria chapter.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations once again for everything you do as a professional. And thank you for being on Your Marketing Big Sister podcast.
Thank you.